Hello, Paul, and thank you so much for taking the time today to
Hi.
talk to me. It's always lovely to connect with you, and thank you for taking the time to
Yeah, you're
share a
very
bit of
welcome. It's,
your
it's always lovely
experience.
to speak to you as well, Lisa.
Thank you so much. So, you've been to our retreat a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been to us twice now. And yeah, I wondered if you wanted to share just a little bit about how do you find the setting? How is it for you, the retreat? You don't have to go into too much detail, but just as much as you feel comfortable with in terms of about the space and how you find that has made it different for you because you've had an experience before with the medicine,
hmm
and then you came to us, and of course there's wonderful experiences everywhere to be had, but yeah, you seem to be doing really well when you come to see us.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a beautiful place, and it's so remote from everywhere that you really feel that you're in this kind of really like a bubble where you're held and safe, and you can be yourself, be completely authentic, say what you think, have wonderful sharing with people, and it's super sort of nurturing kind of environment, and I mean it's just beautiful. I mean the valley is spectacular. It's just so full of life, and you can go for lovely walks and just really experience nature. One of the things have found with Bufo is that it really brings me closer to nature. I really appreciate nature more. The closer to the experience I am, and you can feel the life of everything just around you, and it's you really feel part of it, and that kind of that non-dual perspective, I think, really um, is so at the forefront of your experience that being in nature just really sort of magnifies it, and you can feel everything growing around you, and it's amazing. So yeah, I've found it a really great environment, and obviously you and Miguel are wonderful and really supportive and helpful, and the way you facilitate the groups is wonderful. So yeah, I found it a very positive experience.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's always really amazing, like you say, to be in nature. I think the setting is so important when we work with the medicines that we are in places where we feel closer to nature because it brings us closer to the self. I see from a non-dual
Yeah.
perspective so much in nature where we can learn so much from it, and that we are really not separate from nature at all. But yeah, it's really beautiful that you stayed. I think on the last retreat, there was quite a bit of wind, and we had all these
Mm,
eucalyptus trees moving like that. And it was
mm,
this like really
mm.
beautiful dance of silver. And I knew you just loved that. I remember, and how
Yeah.
alive it was.
Yeah, I remember sitting up, and for those who haven't been to the retreat center, there's a big picture window in the ceremony space that looks out across this valley, and I lay down for my five experiences, but then after when I was past the peak and sort of coming through it, I sat up and I looked out across this, and as you say, the wind was blowing through the eucalyptus trees, and they were shimmering, and it was just so beautiful, and the birds flitting around from one to another. And yeah, brought tears to my eyes because it was just so stunning, and you just feel such a part of nature. You just
Yes,
recognize that you are one with it,
for sure. Yes. Yeah, really beautiful. And yes, also your experiences are so beautiful as well with the medicine. And yeah, you're always so committed to working deep with the medicine. So yeah, it's always really beautiful to hold space for you also.
Thank you.
How is integration for you? Because I know for many people, they think, okay, so the retreat is good, it's a really good scene, it's a really beautiful place, and so forth. But now we leave, we go home. And so, how do you find integration? How do you integrate the five experiences for you?
Yeah, so I've done three retreats now over the last, I think, 4 years, maybe five. And So I'll just backtrack a little bit and give a little bit of sort of background. I'd become interested in non-duality through, it all started really with, I went on a yoga retreat, and I'd never done any yoga before, so it was a brave thing to do. But anyway, I went on this yoga retreat, and there's a beginner's class. And at the end of the class, the teacher said, Namaste. And then she explained what namaste meant for those of us who were novices to yoga. And she said, I can't remember the exact words, but it's something like, the light in me sees the light in you. And when we see that, we are one. And a tear came into her eye as she said it. So I could see this really meant a lot to her. And that was really and it's amazing how little things can just trigger a whole cascade of events and research. And I started going back, and I started looking into what does Namaste mean? I Googled it and just sort of started getting into it. And I came across a video of I don't mean this pejoratively, but an old American hippie who'd been living in India for a long time, who was a devotee of Advaita Vedanta. And I found it really interesting what he was talking about. And so I started to study Advaita Vedanta and the idea and the concept of non-duality. And I kind of felt that I got to the point where intellectually I'd got it. I understood, I'm not I'm not a philosopher, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, but I felt that I'd got enough to have got it. But it didn't feel like it had changed my life. It just was an intellectual experience that's, oh right, okay, we're all one, whatever, what next? And that's why I then became interested in psychedelics and started doing some research. And I went on my first Bufo retreat in Mexico, and um, had this felt experience which goes far beyond intellectualization or kind of the thoughts or the model in your head of what non-duality means. You're there, you actually experience it. You experience that you are one, and realize that you are so much more than this body and this mind. And that realization was absolutely incredible. And so what I have found though, and that was life changing, and that there's no going back from that. But what I do find is that the immediacy of it does fade when you get back into life and work and relationships and domestic stuff and all of that. The immediacy of it does fade, and it doesn't you're not right in that lived experience in the same way that you are just after an experience with Bufo. So that's why I've come back a couple of times to kind of just refresh and just experience that again, and experience the bliss and and that feeling of oneness and love, and reminding yourself of who you are. So that's why I kind of come back, and it's, as I say, it has changed me in as much as, I have that understanding now and that realization. But for me, I find I like to kind of refresh and come back and kind of just feel that again in my heart as well as in my head.
For sure. And I think for some people, taking these retreats, one might be enough,
Yeah,
and they feel that that's okay for them. But for others,
100%.
it's a little bit more of a journey. It is really a journey that they undertake a few times, maybe many times. And they feel that they do it. Of course, it's not recommended to do it once a month, but
No.
not that I think anybody would, but some people might want to stay there. And the point is not for us to continuously use it to stay there, but
Yeah.
like you say, so much in life can remove us again from that connection to the
Yeah.
self. And so sometimes it's just good, like somebody said recently, just to press the reset button
Yeah.
and just to bring back to center, back to self. And then there is that deep connection again. And of course, it doesn't mean that life now stops to happen.
Yeah.
You are not permanently enlightened. And I don't think this is the point. because I love the saying that seeking enlightenment is the obstacle to it, because
Mm.
it's the seeking that ultimately there is no seeker.
Yeah.
But not to go into too deep into the philosophies of non-duality, but yeah, so life still happens, and how we cope in our everyday lives, of course, things are different. It's from a place of more presence. How would you say it's been for you, just back in your everyday life? How do you think it has changed the way that you see your life after taking these experiences?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that has deepened throughout the three retreats is this realization of the importance of surrender and not trying to control everything in life. And there's a dance here because it's not about being completely passive and just letting life drift past you. You know, you obviously still have to do stuff and plan and think about what you want out of life and how to get it. But at the same time, you're trying not to be too attached to the outcomes and or even the process. So it's a bit like, yes, there are things that I want to do in the future, and I will work towards those. But if life kicks me another way, then that's fine. That's the way I'm going to do it. So I'll give you an example. I set up a coaching business last year. And I wanted to help people who've got alcohol problems, and I did help some people, and it was great. But I struggled to make a business out of it. So I got a mortgage to pay, so I kind of had to go back into the corporate world and do some corporate work. But actually, that's worked out really really well in the end. I'm actually working with some people that I like, and I'm enjoying the work, and it's not. I can take the odd day off if I feel like it. It's not absolutely full on, and it's paying the bills and everything. So yeah, it worked out. Now it might not have, and that's okay too. You have to just have faith in yourself and your own resilience and your own power. And again, I think that's something that you've I've really taken from my experience with five is the incredible power that is within you. You feel it. It's like I think I said after one of my experiences, it was like you can suddenly feel all the energy of the Big Bang running through you. And I kind of half expected when I turned around for everybody to be thrown up against the wall, from this energy that had come through me. And it's just incredible. And you think, well, that's always there.
Yes,
That's not just five. That is making that happen. All the five does, all of any of the psychedelics do, is to close down areas of your brain to get your ego out of the way so that you can become the person that you truly are anyway. So recognizing that you have that power, I think that that helps you to surrender as well, because you can just go, yeah, okay, that might go sideways, but I'll be fine.
yeah,
I'm still me, and I've still got my skills and whatever, and I'll get through it. And I think that's super important. I think, and then when you do let go, better things happen. I think it's just life starts to flow more easily once you stop fighting it.
for sure. And of course, it's so beautiful, that, yeah, life doesn't stop happening. The car's still going to break down. The boiler is going to break down. Something
Mm.
is going to come. And these things are going to and cause you frustration and anger, and all of these things will still happen. So the human experience is still going to happen. Like Ramdas says, we take the curriculum of life. And so this is
Mm.
still going to unfold for us. But yeah, it's we don't stay there. It's almost like there is a deeper understanding of, yes, this is okay, and we can fully experience it. And I think for me as well, after five, I understand that it's also important to fully experience life and every bit that it
Mm.
offers, because for me it is such a wonderful thing to be alive and to have these experiences. And so, of course, it's uncomfortable many times, but when we're angry, really be angry. Soak it to your being. When you are
Mm.
happy or joyful, really be joyful in those moments, but we have to let go of even those
Mm.
because otherwise any attachment will cause ultimately discomfort for us.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
always about letting go. I think it's
Yeah.
also really important to realize that integration is not something that starts after psychedelic experiences. I think integration is something we do every day of our lives. So we integrate what happened to us last week, last month, last year. And so we are constantly trying to make sense of the experiences that have happened to us. And how can we adjust our life to either get more of it or to avoid it from happening again? And so we should all become better at integrating our lives, whether it is with or without psychedelics. Because I think many people think it starts after you have a psychedelic experience. But the reality is, we can all become good at integrating our lives every single day. And and like you say, just not to attach to it too much or to have too much expectations. Of course, we must plan for the future and we must also have plans in place, but also to see where there is the least resistance and obviously go there.
Yeah. And I'm not claiming to have everything worked out because there's still things that I um, try to find a balance with that I maybe don't always get right. So I do like to read and watch videos and stuff about subjects like I like Bernardo Kastrup's ideas of analytic idealism, but I find it very challenging what he's saying. I'm a bearer of very little brain, and I find some of these really, really deep philosophical concepts pretty hard.
It's
I'm
highly
not.
intellectual, yes.
Yeah, I mean it's a struggle sometimes, and sometimes I think, well, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself through this when you know who you are and all of that stuff? But I'm a curious person, so I kind of
Yes.
like I still want to sort of explore these things, but yeah, there's a bit of a balance there to be struck, you know, between self-improvement, I suppose, and all of the other kind of stuff that's just about I'm quite interested in Stoicism, so I think that those Stoic philosophers have got a lot to teach us about our resilience and our mindset and all of those things. So there's always a kind of you can work on stuff, but you don't want to get obsessed and spend all of your time thinking about how you can be a better person when you should be out just enjoying life. So
Mm.
there is a little bit of a dance there.
Of course, absolutely. And I think sometimes from a non-dual perspective as well, we are already whole and complete. And we know when we go deep within ourselves, like the five takes away all the illusionary parts of ourselves, it switches off parts of the brain that creates the illusion of separation. And then that's who we are. And of course, we are ultimately that always. We are always that um, perfect state of awareness. And yeah, we try our best to stay connected to that all the time. But things still happen, and you're an explorer. And so there's nothing wrong with that as well. But I always think it's so beautiful. You referred to the Big Bang earlier, that I don't think anything is ever added to who and what we are because it is already just pure being. So for most of us, it is more about taking away what we are not. So it's more about subtracting than adding anything to it because we are so full with information and knowledge and things that are in the world and in the mind that sometimes it's about taking away, taking away, taking away, just surrendering, surrendering, surrendering it all. And then the only thing that remains after that is, of course, is this pure loving awareness.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, really beautiful. And so yeah, it's really beautiful always to hear because you have a very grounded way to ground yourself. It's just about how you live your life, how you see it, how do you apply that presence to everything that you do in your life, which I think is really, really beautiful. Do you feel at any point after your five experiences that you might feel a little bit sad, destabilized in any way because of having this really profound, deep experience of self?
No, no, I haven't. No, no, I have to say, it's been. always completely positive for me. I know that's not the case for everybody. Some people will unearth maybe some stuff that you know from the past or whatever that you feel they have to work through. I think my yeah, I mean to be fair, my first experience with five probably you know that I had a lot on my mind about my childhood and my relationship with my mother and stuff, um, which perhaps brought it a little bit more to the front and. Yeah, but I felt like I actually went on an ayahuasca retreat and kind of worked on that and that relationship with my mother, I think resolved because Mama Aya showed me something about that which made all make sense, I think. So yeah, it didn't make me feel sad, but I suppose it did. That first one did bring a little bit more to the fore, my awareness of some of the issues that I've had and probably where they came from. You know, we all have stuff from our childhood and you know, I had stuff and you know, I had some drinking problems when I was until a few years ago and they probably had their root back in that sort of stuff. So I guess might have made me a little bit more introspective about all of that stuff, but not in a bad way, not in a it wasn't a negative thing. It just helped me to work through it, I think.
Yeah, really beautiful. And I think that's why you were so passionate is also helping people with drinking difficulties because it
Yeah,
is something so close to your heart.
yeah.
Do you still offer people help around this? Do you still offer some private sessions or training for people with
Yeah,
problems?
yeah, I'm still available. I'm kind of like pretty busy working with I've got a contract as a management consultant, so I'm doing that at the moment. But yeah, I'm still open for business, but I'm not actively promoting it at the moment because I'm just too busy with other stuff.
No problem. I just wanted to see maybe if somebody in the community feels drawn to you or what you do, that perhaps we could leave a little
Sure, of
link,
course, yeah.
and if they wanted to get in touch, it's always lovely to speak to somebody as well that has good experience, lived experience, and have obviously come out the other side, and obviously to bring that in. Yes, there is a lived experience, and so there is still a process sometimes of letting go for people, and even if you show them God, you introduce them to God or the concept of non-duality, there is still this memory, this imprint, this samskara, these imprints that are still there.
Yeah.
And we can't just always say, poof, they go.
No.
And for some, it is a process of working on those.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you know, that's samskara, as you say, they're there. Um, and but what I think particularly five, but also Aya has taught me is you better off being aware of them
Yes.
and being conscious of them. You can bring them to mind and go, right, I'm feeling resentful now. That's probably because of this thing that's within me. That's, you know, or you know, I noticed that I'm behaving in this way, and that's a pattern. You know, where does that pattern come from? It probably came from, you know, something in my childhood or from a previous partner or something like that. So
Mm.
I think you know, it has helped to bring all that kind of stuff to the surface, and then you can deal with it. If you're not seeing it, you can't deal with it, can you?
Of course. And I think, yeah, sometimes people also think about when we say self-inquiry, that it is only about asking the question, who is aware, what is aware? And of course, this is the ultimate truth of who we are. The more we can subtract this, the more we get to the point of just being the loving awareness. And of course, in my own healing journey, I found my physical disabilities was linked to emotional and physical traumas from my life, these imprints that were there. But it was important for me to first of all see them and then to
Mm.
bring them into the present loving moment awareness. But they have to peak within the experience. They have to be fully understood with incredible honesty to ourselves, to feel them, to see them, and like you say, to really be aware of them. So for me, self inquiry also meant to know thyself, also on a level of the body, mind, and then, of course, ultimate realization of self. So self inquiry, I think, is a multidisciplinary process of getting you there because if you ignore the body and the body mind and completely jump to only the one part of it, it's like it drags you back. It just
Mm,
drags you
mm.
back into the body. So I think there is a process of letting go um, of all of it. We can say, yes, there is an ultimate truth, but I think there is still a process for us of letting go.
Yeah, and yes, we can recognize that we're all one and one with nature and all of that stuff, but you still spend all of your life in duality. You've
Yeah,
still got to navigate the world, and
of
deal with
course.
everything. And so, that's the stuff that you've got to deal with. That's your day-to-day stuff. And that's why we're here to
Yes, yes,
to
yes.
to deal with this stuff and learn from it and take something back to the source,
Of
I think.
course. And to be that unique expression of the one experiencing itself, as Lisa or as Paul or as anybody
Yeah.
else. And it is very unique. And, people are, especially in the time that we live in some of the spiritual things that are happening in the world right now, are obsessed with change. People think they will have to change all the time, change, change, change. And they are stuck in this loop of constant change. And, and if you ask them what is the ultimate point that you want to get, nobody really knows
Mm.
exactly what they want to change into, but it's just the act of changing, changing. I need to change. But maybe if we just start embracing really fully who we are and, and all that that entails and the unique experience that we bring to the world, and the unique perceptions that how we perceive life and how unique that is because of all of this concoction of things that makes up us as a unique individual. I think there's a lot of surrender. There was certainly a lot of surrender in it for me to realize that what if I just am? What if I could just work with this, purely just all of this that makes up the entire being, this vessel, the mind, the spirit? How can I work with all that first? And I think, yeah, that's really, really beautiful way to also be okay with the little flaws and the little things that makes us uniquely
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if God wanted to just go around being God, he wouldn't have bothered with humans.
No.
So
And
if he she decided it wanted humans, then we come with baggage, and
that's right.
up to us to deal with it. Yeah.
And even within that, there is perfection. Because the time I spent with the master, he said that where there is suffering, God is there also.
Mm.
That it all makes up this beautiful richness, the tapestry of life, of the human experience. And it's really about embracing ourselves so deeply. As opposed to constantly wanting to change. Of course, there is aspects of ourselves that we should try and better to get us closer. But yeah, and
Yeah,
still to.
yeah, and I think that's why we have such a problem in society with addictions and whether it's drink or drugs or gambling or shopping. We're being sold this faulty bill of goods by society, which is that you should be happy all the time,
Mm,
that
yes.
life should be perfect,
Mm,
and it's not. It's never going to be like that. It's never going to be like that, and the beauty of it, as you say, there is beauty in suffering even.
yeah.
There's beauty in everything if you just accept it and just accept that that's the way we are, and you're not going to find happiness by chasing happiness all the time. If you think you're going to go through life in this wonderful pink cloud of, because you've enlightened or whatever, that's not going to happen. It doesn't even, and even the Dalai Lama, I'm sure, doesn't, has a bad day,
Yes.
So, so, it's unrealistic expectations, I think, leads to a lot of suffering and leads to a lot of people self-medicating and doing
Yes.
stuff um, that's just to take the take the pain away
Mm,
briefly. Yeah.
absolutely. And the shame of having these flaws and the shame and there's so much shame around being you that people try and really fill this gap. And like you say, sometimes it is just by zoning out completely with alcohol, substances, whatever it is. It could be addictions to many different things in life.
Mm.
but it really is just that the shame of, of being you, that it's just never going to be enough. But
Yeah.
ultimately, it is about letting go of all those concepts that we are enough. And, with all those imperfections, there is still beauty within that. And like you say, when you have a five experience, and for me, it's also like that, the force of what I feel it is far beyond our comprehension
Mm.
of just beautiful love and light. Yes, it's this also, but it's another force. There's something else to it that is, it is nothing and everything all at once. And so, but the force that makes up it is so incredibly vast that we cannot
No,
fathom it in
no,
any way. But it
no.
contains every little bad bit about our lives. And I think sometimes, even in scriptures like in Christianity, where they say everything is welcome, that everything is welcome to God. And it means that there is really no judgment around it. It all makes up the whole.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, the truth will set you free,
Mhm.
that power that you experience is incredible. I mean, but there's always something I might have said this before, but I feel there's another message that I can't quite bring back with me. I get it when I'm in that moment, and I don't quite bring it back with me. It's like a dream that you only half remember. And I think it's just because our brains are not able to comprehend
Yes.
the, the, the whole truth.
Yes.
We can see part of the truth, but our brains are just too small, too limited to take in the ultimate truth of it. But that's
Absolutely.
okay, because there's always going to be a mystery to this.
Yes, for sure. And I think many times, even people that are, I would say, serious seekers towards enlightenment or a deeper connection to self, it seems people that, and there is really genuine seeking. I'm not saying that this is ingenuous in any way, but they don't reach it. And they don't even particularly reach it on five. Even if it's brief, it's not really, I would say, really deep non-dual states of awareness. And I think it seems like perhaps there is a ripeness that is required for a deeper experience of that. It's available to all of us. All of us can realize the self. But I think, like you say, the depth of realization needs to be, it is carefully allowed to us. And it's not because that the one is better than the other. I don't think that's the point. But I think if we had to get all of that information straight away when we're not ready for it, I think this could be too much. It could just be
Yeah,
overwhelming because
yeah,
even many times people have incredible experiences on 5-MeO and that you can see that they are the complete bliss and some of the things that they say, the words that they utter, the amazement that you see on their faces, and it is just there is no doubt in your mind that they have reached that state of absolute ananda. It's just beautiful. But when they return from that, they have a bit of amnesia about the specific part of the
yeah,
experience because it is just so much that the human mind is trying to comprehend it or fathom it in a way. And then we're trying to put some concepts to it in terms of
yeah,
the ego trying to understand the very thing it doesn't want to.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it is,
yeah. No,
it's almost like it has to be broken up into fractions and then just
yeah,
little bits at a time.
yeah. And I think I've taken something slightly different from every ceremony
Yes.
I've done, and it's yeah, just gradually building up a bigger picture. I don't think I'll ever see the whole picture, not in this life, but yeah, little puzzle pieces fit in a bit more every time, I think. Yeah.
Really beautiful. Yeah, that's really amazing. Well, Paul, thank you so much for sharing with us. I don't know if there's anything
No,
else you wanted to
thank you
add
for asking.
to that.
No,
Um,
I don't know who will be watching this, but if anybody's watching it and thinking, is this something I should do? If you feel called to it, not for everybody, I don't
yes,
think.
yes,
But if you feel called to it, then I would say, it's an astonishing experience, and yeah, the best experiences of my life. And I'm very, very grateful to you and Miguel for providing them.
Oh, you're very welcome. But I think it is about fostering those experience, the connection that we feel to ourselves. It's about fostering that afterwards as well. I think, and this looks different for each person. We've tried to create various different types of integration workshops, but it just, people are so uniquely different, each one.
Mm.
And, we have to find within ourselves, and part of how we structure the retreat is try and empower people to try and find something that they know is going to work for them, that is going to help them to stay there. And then obviously we try and support people where we can. So our approach is we support as and when needed. And so some people
Yeah.
we support on a weekly basis, some on a monthly basis, some a bit more, and some become friends for life because they're always part of our lives. But yeah, it's always been really amazing to have you. And thank you
Oh,
so much
thank
for
you. It's
sharing with us
been
today. I'm
incredible.
sure
Yeah.
people will find our talk very comforting and also very helpful for them. So, but yeah, if anybody is
I hope so.
interested that are struggling with some alcohol issues themselves, or perhaps their family, and they feel called to what Paul is doing, please, I'll leave his details in the comment below, and you're welcome to get in contact with him as well. Paul, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me
Thank you so
today.
much.